top 5 longest wars in history. Wars have raged since the dawn of time, when mankind created the first tool and weapons. While certain events have shaped our immediate existence, for example, both world wars, they are just a blip on the radar of military history. In reality, there have been hundreds of battles waged spanning decades, if not centuries. Humans have been in conflict for as long as they have existed. The oldest evidence of two groups battling to death goes back at least 4,700 years, and there was almost certainly many more wars before any of this. Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to our channel, Things Explained Lab. For today's video, prepare your weapons and shields because these are the top 5 longest wars in history. But before we get into it, do me a favor and smash a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button for notifications whenever a new video is published. Number 5. First Punic War. Length 23 years, 264 to 241 BC. This was the first of 3 battles between the Roman Republic and the strong North African city-state of Carthage, now Tunisia, over control of lucrative trade routes in and around the Mediterranean Sea. The First Punic War was the longest of the 3, and it was fought mainly over control of the island of Sicily, which was the scene of much of the combat. The Romans slaughtered an estimated 20,000 Carthaginian troops in one day at Panormus, which is now Palermo, and also seized 100 elephants, which the Carthaginians were renowned for using in battle. The elephants were sent to Rome, where they are said to have died at the Colosseum Games. The Romans emerged victorious in the First Punic War in 241 BC, taking control of much of Sicily. When Roman commander Scipio beat the Carthaginian general Hannibal in 201 BC, Rome won the Second Punic War as well. The Romans have decimated the Carthaginian army, devastated the city of Carthage, enslaved, sold, or murdered all of its people, and seized every single inch of Carthaginian land by the conclusion of the Third Punic War in 146 BC. The fight for Sicily restarted in 254, but remained largely stalemated until 241, when a force of 200 vessels gave the Romans full control of the seaways, ensuring the Punic bastion in Sicily's demise. Carthage succumbed a later year, surrendering Sicily and the Lipari Islands to Rome in exchange for an indemnity. Number 4. The ACHINESE War. Length 31 years, 1873 to 1904. This conflict arose from the Dutch desire to strengthen their control over Dutch East Indies, the former colony that is now the country of Indonesia. The Sultanate of Aceh, an autonomous monarchy on the Indonesian islands of Sumatra, was invaded by the Dutch in 1873 in order to gain control of the region's valuable black pepper business. In 1874, the Dutch claimed victory after capturing the capital of Kutaraja. However, they misjudged the ACHINESE, who resorted to guerrilla warfare, and the conflict went on for another 31 years, with land changing hands many times. The disappointed Dutch launched a scorched-earth campaign in the late 1980s, destroying Aceh villages and slaughtering tens of thousands of people, including women and children. The Dutch had essentially won the war by 1903, although combat persisted in certain areas on the region until 1914. Aceh is now an Indonesian province that achieved independence from the Netherlands in 1949. After that, a castle plan was implemented, which offered reinforced location for the Dutch soldiers. The kingdom was soon conquered under the command of J.B. van Hoots, who was appointed military and civil ruler of Aceh in 1899. In 1904, van Hoots completed the conquest of the whole area. Number 3. The Peloponnesian War. Length 27 years, 431 to 404 BC. In the Greco-Persian War, remember how the Greek city-states joined together and defeated the powerful Persians? After everything was sorted out, Greeks returned to doing what they did best, battling each other. The Peloponnesian League, a coalition of allied city-states headed by Athens' archivals, the Spartans, battled Athens, which had developed into a strong empire in this conflict. Sparta is situated on the Peloponnesian Peninsula, which encompasses most of southern Greece. The war continued throughout the southern Greece, as well as western Turkey and southern Italy. This featured huge naval engagements, the most famous of which was the Battle of Aegospotami, which saw the Spartans destroy the great Athenian fleet, sinking roughly 150 ships and executing over 3,000 sailors off Turkey's Mediterranean coast. After Athens surrendered a few months later, the war and Athens' dominance over the region was finished by 404 BC. The democratic authorities, on the other hand, rejected Spartan peace offers, and the war continued at the sea, with the Spartan and Athenian ships exchanging expensive victories. The Athenian navy was defeated at Aegospotami in 405 by the Spartan fleet led by Lysander, who had received a lot of help from the Persians. Athens surrendered the next year, starving from unbreakable siege. The loss of Athens was arguably the greatest consequence of a conflict that devastated Greek military power, and as a result, the most culturally sophisticated Greek state was finally eclipsed. Number 2. The Wars of the Roses. Length 30 years, 1455 to 1485. The defenders of two royal houses battled for the right to the English throne. The House of Lancaster, whose heraldic emblem was a red rose, and the House of York, whose symbol was a white rose. Thus, the name of the war. The throne was passed around 3 times throughout the conflict. One king was slain in combat, another was executed after being caught, 2 more monarchs died of natural causes, and a large number of lords, dukes, earls, and other royal figures perished, many of whom had their heads mounted on pikes and shown in public. When it was all said and done, the House of Lancaster had triumphed. In the Battle of Bosworth Field in 1485, Henry Tudor, the Lancastrian pretender to the throne, beat the Yorkist claimant Richard III and became King Henry VII. He reinforced his power the next year by marrying Elizabeth of York and founding a new family, the Tudor House, which controlled England for the next century. Number 1. The Guatemalan Civil War. Length 36 years, 1960 to 1996. Carlos Castillo Armas, a right-wing army colonel, conducted a successful coup against Guatemala's democratically elected Marxist government in 1945. The CIA and the U.S. State Department orchestrated the coup. A group of left-wing army officers attempted a coup in 1960, but were unsuccessful. The Guatemalan military, which ultimately seized control of the nation, and different Marxist guerrilla organizations fought for 36 years. Fighting continued until 1996, when the rebel factions and the government signed a peace deal. Both sides made sacrifices, but it was generally seen as a victory for the rebels. The Guatemalan army and the national police forces abducted, tortured, and killed between 40,000 and 50,000 individuals, mostly civilian activists throughout the war, making it one of the first to employ a terror technique known as forced disappearance. The majority of the victims were indigenous people, particularly Mayans, whose remains were buried in mass graves or dropped into the sea from helicopters. The fate of the majority of those killed is still unclear. On top of that, make sure to check out our previous videos uploaded on our channel for more fascinating and informative videos. So, which war was the most devastating among the 5 wars on the list? Do you find this video very interesting? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Before leaving, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for notifications on our future content. With that being said, see you in the next one.